Well, hi, I'm back with some updates, with some life updates, with some things that are on my mind, and some updates. Did I say updates yet? So I took a break, and this was on the back of a lot of things. This was primarily driven by what do I want to do with this space here? What is my. I'm not just saying YouTube, I'm saying social media in general. Like, it just became this chasing thing that I was trying to do for reasons I didn't understand, trying to leverage audiences into some kind of thing that's monetizable, or trying to influence a section of life, and it's not really in line with who I am and what I want. I'm not really a marketing guy. I'm not a strategic person when it comes to this kind of space. And there's nothing wrong with that if you are. But when it's not for you, it is wrong if you try to be that, in my opinion. Because when I try to fit myself into a box that isn't meant for me, it creates depression, it creates chaos, anxiety, all kinds of things. And the opposite's true as well. When I want to do that, when I get inspired, sometimes that goes way off the rails too. So I want to update you on some things like the novel that I finished, about my service dog, which is the biggest update. I have a new service dog. Stick around for that. That's probably going to be the bulk of what I talk about here, and some future plans that I have separate from YouTube, but also they will apply to YouTube as well, I think, because the reason I do YouTube, I have done YouTube, I've said for many different reasons, but ultimately it's a video journal. I don't really share anything that's private that needs to be kept in a journal away from everyone, but when I write so frenetically that it stresses me out sometimes to journal. So when I can sit down and talk on camera, it's pleasant to me. And so that's the main core of why I do this. It is to meet other people. It is to get recommendations on certain things when I don't know about a certain thing. BookTube was a fun experiment because it got me to get into fiction literature and find some ones that I enjoy. I'm still reading. It's just not something I plan on sharing much of here, although anything is possible, right? But the novel that I wrote is done. It's halfway through the edit of, spelling, grammar, things like that, punctuation. And once that's done, I do plan on releasing it probably just on Amazon, drop ship it. I realize about myself, when I get into scheduling, into shipping, into budgeting for all of this as well, it gets too messy. My brain can't really comprehend it. It thinks it does, and then I get really underwater. So that's one of the reasons business has not been a great fit for me. Also, my cards that I made, the Hero's Journey cards, these are done. The new book officially is done. So I've got this book here that gives you the guidebook and all this stuff, and some suggested uses of how to use it. So I've got all that stuff done. But it comes to the point where, how am I going to get it to you? I'm not a businessman. I'm not a marketing man. I honestly don't like opening myself up in that product to criticism from people who just are going to be haters and say stupid things about it, because sometimes I have to protect myself. Even though I know it shouldn't matter, it's still something I'm working on. I haven't been able to develop the resilience to deal with that kind of vitriol. Not that I'm above criticism, it's just from the right people with the right spirit. I need that criticism, but generally what I get online is not helpful. So I don't want to take a part of my heart and have it exposed like that. And this is different. I can talk on here about vulnerable things, but when you look at my creation, my novel, my cards that I put so much of my heart into, that is more frightening and more vulnerable to me than sharing my experience in life. Not that I don't want to share it, not that I don't think it'll be helpful. It's something that I need to figure out. There's a digital deckable app that I could put those in perhaps and sell it for $10 or whatever. The deck itself, I was looking at having to charge over $50 just to make a profit and sell I have to buy 500 and sell 100 at 50 to break even. And that number was wrong because I hadn't factored in all of the shipping and all of the different, I don't even remember now, but I went into it and it was going to be ridiculous. And so I talked myself out of it, and maybe someday I'll meet someone, make a partnership that they want to, that they believe in the product and they want to get it out there. I just made it because I wanted to help myself and I wanted to help other people, but I didn't want it to cost me money, and that's the big thing, or cause me undue stress, because I can deal with stress, just certain kinds of stress. No, no, sir. Happy to talk about that more in the future. But the service dog, that's a big one. So 12 years ago, I was paired with the service dog Maddie, and she was my service dog for 10 years and passed away 2.5 years or something like that ago. And it was one of the most painful losses I've experienced in my whole life. She did a lot for me. She was hope personified when I saw her. She took away the nightmares. Like, I had nightmares that were terrible from war, that I woke up while I was pulling my wife out of bed because I thought she was in a burning Humvee. I was afraid of sleep. But my wife was nervous to go to bed after I fell asleep. So we'd have to go to bed together, or she'd have to go to bed before me, because if she came into the room when I was sleeping, not that I did anything to her, but it woke me up in a panic, and that's stressful for her as well as me. So nobody wants that. And that was really bad. I barely got any sleep, and when I did, it was bad. She took those away because she was able to, through training, interrupt the nightmare before it happened. Because what dogs do is they can see you pop up out of bed, and be like, what the heck was that? A service dog, I'm saying. Then they can reverse chain that all the way back to the first twitch or the scent change that's in you or the noise you make. And then they can alert it and get you before you go spiraled up in that dream to the point where it wakes you. The organization I got her through was This Able Veteran. It is the only organization I would recommend. It's an intensive program. You're there for 21 days straight, and it's 7 days a week, from 9 o'clock till 3 to 4:30, somewhere in there, depending on the day. So it's a big commitment, but they train those dogs for 1.5 years. It's paired for the veteran with the dog. I'm looking, this is where my dog is now. The dog is paired with the veteran, and it's like the soul marriage where it's the perfect dog for you based on personality and need. So it's not just, hey, here's your dog. It's more than that. And I can't speak highly enough about the program. I have mentored 2 classes. I have gone to refresher courses. I've held the regulators group online where we keep some alumni in community. I just went back, obviously, and went through the course again, the 21 days. And back to the Maddie, she brought my leadership out. I was insecure. She was insecure. I had to be a leader for her to be happy in the world. So that was part of that soul marriage. I had to bring out of myself that which I had suppressed so that I could lead her. And so there's lots of nuance to that conversation. But she pulled this stuff out of me and healed me in a way. But there's only so much healing you can do in 10 years. And when I lost her, I didn't want another service dog. The organization asked me if I did, and I said no. I said I had to live life without her to figure out where my weaknesses, where my vulnerabilities, where my work lied. Because if I just got another service dog, I could potentially just use that dog as a coping mechanism and not deal with the problems that I still had. And so 2 years went by, and I said no again. And this last time, I said I'm open to it for the first time, and Bahesha, the owner, was like, boy, do I got news for you, because we have the perfect dog. She doesn't sound like that. It's just, I think it's funny to make it sound like a barker, but she had told me that she had the perfect dog for me, and if Bahesha says that to you, it's best that you listen and trust. So I said, yeah, I'll do it. And 3 months later, I was in the program, and I kicked and screamed. I wanted to quit before. I wanted to quit during. All of the stuff came up. And my reasoning for not doing it, or the reason I should say for doing it, the reason I didn't want to do it is because I felt like a failure for needing a second dog. For anyone seeing me and saying you need a second dog, it would be good for you. I thought that was a failure, which is a lie. It wasn't a failure. But what my 15-year-old daughter told me was, if you think about it this way, your Maddie experience, she healed you to a point, and you were unable to deal with the stuff underneath that hurt, those wounds, because they were covered. Now they're uncovered, and now your new dog can work on those with you. And at that point, that made a lot of sense to me. And I agreed, but the real reason I didn't want to, and made up the lies for why it wasn't a good idea, the failure thing, was because I didn't want to go through that pain again. I didn't want to experience that loss because it was brutal, and I didn't think I could survive a second one. So I was afraid to feel that. But the reality is that when you lose and you have grief, that's the cost of love, and you pay it in tears. But to avoid grief, you have to get rid of all the love in your life, and that's not a way I want to live either. So it has to be worth it. To have lost something I love so much that it created so much pain, I had to be honored by. Even though it was brutal, I have to be honored that I was given this love and experienced it in my life. Thank you. Let's go again. So I'm sitting here, before you saying I'm ready to go through it again. And my service dog, his name is Roman. He is very different from what Maddie was, but that's the nature of growth. I'm not who I was when Maddie met me. So I am where I am, and I'm going where I'm going, and part of that rekindling of me is coming back here and talking to you. I do want to talk about service dogs. I want to talk about issues like that, what I see service dogs as being helpful for, the misconceptions, specifically for veterans. I won't speak to seeing eye dogs or seizure alert dogs or diabetes, dog, like any of those things. That's not my experience, so I wouldn't pretend to understand. Even bracing dogs that help people who need to have stability issues, won't talk about it because I don't know. I can talk about basic dog training stuff, but I won't talk about the other things. PTSD service dogs, anxiety service dogs, that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's what I'm interested in sharing perspective, because there's a lot of false service dogs, and some people think it's not hurtful, but it really is, because it takes away the credibility of the legit, trained, beautiful, angelic service dogs that are doing good work. And Roman, down by my side, is one of those dogs. Hopefully I'll get to share a little bit of life with him with you. We'll see. But I'm back. And what am I going to do? I've got some ideas. One of the big things is, I've written this book. I got to have a creative outlet. Always got to have a creative outlet. But my heart is service. That's why I coach. That's why I create these programs that nobody ever sees, because I have to put my philosophies on paper to figure out what I believe, because I love it. I love doing that kind of stuff. There is some insecurity about running a business and all that, so I'm not looking at that right now. But what I am doing is, I applied for school. I'm looking at going back to school to pursue psychology. My longtime dream has been to become a psychologist, and I've had all the reasons not to. And in fact, I probably wasn't able to at the time when I had those passions for the last 12 plus years. Now is the time where I can, with my family is able to support it. We're in a good place, and I can look at finishing my bachelor's and going on from a master's. If I go on post that would be a separate conversation. But right now I'm just trying to get to a place where I can be a licensed counselor. I want to serve veterans. I want to serve in nonprofits. I have 2 that I want to serve. That would be disabled veteran. If possible, that would be a dream come true. I have good relationship with them, and I'll serve them anyway. It doesn't matter whether I'm a licensed counselor or not. My heart is with them, so I am with them. The other is my nonprofit that I co-founded, Project Echelon. Again, if they'll have me. And I have a good relationship with them still. It's not like it can't happen. It's just a matter of, when you look at a program, do they need it? Because not every nonprofit is in that space where they have groups of veterans who want to do the work, who would benefit from a counselor. Peer support for the VA. These are all things that I'm kicking around with. But the core is, I want to get back into school. I want to get the training. I want to be able to serve in that way, because a lot of the people that I shouldn't say a lot. I need to not say a lot. Some of the people I've worked with in coaching, or even just mentoring, it's clear to me that they need a higher level of care. And that's the one thing about coaching that I've always been uncomfortable with, is because I would find people that I'm trying to work with, but they're borderline personality disorder. They have ADHD and need therapy, or have such trauma that they that we're not here working on that. We're here working on goals. We're working on the now, raising your awareness so you can see these things. And hey, the benefit here is if I raise your awareness to see that you need additional help, then that's a win for me. That's great. But I would like to be able to work with you in that realization. And I can't do that. I can't ethically do it, and I wouldn't even trust myself to do it. So I want to get that training. So maybe I'll share some of that. Right now the application is in, transcripts are requested, and I'm still waiting on my high school one. For some reason, that was the hardest one for me to get, and I don't even know if they're sending it to the school. I think they're sending it to me, and then I have to send it to school. Anyway, I don't really get it, but we're working on it. I have a conversation with the VA about how am I going to pay for it. Can I get scholarship or grant money to get in the medical field, the mental health field, not the medical field? And to me, it's a no-brainer. We need more providers because there is a need. Not everything has to be trauma to be dealt with. Like, we need to get into mental health and aware of our own bodies and minds before we get into crisis mode. There'll always be crisis mode, but I want to get in with more people so that we can maybe help some people before they get to crisis mode. And the other thing that I'm doing is I've got some goals. These are personal ones because when I get the way I got over this last year, which was brutal for me, it was a pretty dark year as far as my mental health goes. I have had hard times before, but this in the last 15 years was probably the hardest stretch of a year that I've experienced. And it kind of goes that way. It ruptures and you repair it. So I isolated a lot. There's reasons for that. Some of it is I don't have people in my physical proximity that I'm close with. That is partly my own fault because I don't reach out, and partly me making assumptions saying we don't have anything in common, so I'll just sit this opportunity out that the neighborhood guys are offering. So I've challenged myself in TAV to do things that are uncomfortable but that are manageable. Something that's controllable, something that's manageable, that's not going to overwhelm. And one of the things I'm doing is having a guys' night. I don't drink. I've been sober, so it's a little bit interesting to throw a get-together around it, but I enjoy cigars. I haven't enjoyed them in years, partly because when I was smoking a pipe, my 3-year-old, or no, she would have been like 5 at the time, was jumping on a trampoline and saw me smoking a pipe for my birthday as a celebration of memory, because one of my favorite soldiers, he was special to me. He died on my birthday, and so as a way to commemorate that man who got me through basic training, he had this calm spirit about him, and whenever I was stressed, I could look up at him and we'd be doing push-ups or something, and he would just be locked in, just sending me that calm, even though he was probably in pain and stuff. And he was incredible, and it was such a loss. And I wanted to remember him, or commemorate that with the pipe. And my daughter said, "Are you smoking?" I said, "Yes, honey, I am." And she said, "That's disgusting. You're going to die." So out of the mouths of babes, right? Like I'm aware that smoking pipes or cigars is not a health benefit, but it is something I do enjoy. It reminds me of fond memories of my father. I don't have a lot of relationship memories that I cherish with my dad, who passed away, I don't even remember, over 13 years ago maybe. But when I went in the Army, and when I was turning 18, he said, "When you get back, we're going to sit on the porch, we're going to drink a beer, we're going to smoke a cigar, and we're going to talk smart." And that was like this threshold moment for me when I got back from basic training at 18, and my dad got me a beer. We went and got Romeo y Julieta cigars, and we smoked, we drank, didn't get drunk or anything, and we talked smart, like we knew something. That was what he'd say, is let's talk like we can solve the world's problems. And it was honestly special. And in smoking a cigar now, it's not all just because of that. It is partly that nostalgia, and that's special to me. The other part is just sensory stuff. Like, I like the look of smoke. I like the smell of cigar smoke. I like the smell of the paper, the tobacco. I like the look of it, the coloration of it. I appreciate the craftsmanship, the cutting of it, the toasting of the foot, and the lighting of it, and the fact that it takes focus to do it right. It slows you down for an hour plus, and sitting in a rocking chair outside in nature is not something I do. But when I'm smoking a cigar, it brings me peace to be outside. And I don't have all the answers for you of why. I just know that it does, and that's step one, is figuring out awareness to something that is beneficial to you. Then you can work out the nuance of why. And there's, the reality is I'm an adult. I can do what I want, and as long as it's not hurting other people, then it's probably okay. Financially, physically, like all that stuff. I'm not smoking cigars every day, or I don't plan to, and I'm just looking forward to having the guys over. And I said, hey, who wants to go golfing, like at a driving range or an indoor golf thing, not on the links, because I haven't golfed in many years, but I just want to go do it. And I thought that would be a good invite. I said, who would be interested in golf, indoor or driving range? Who would be interested in cigars and libations? And the 7 people I asked all said yes. So I've got 7 guys that I am preparing for to entertain, way outside of my comfort zone. But to do so, I've had a lot of fun. I went and bought some bourbon, some scotch, and a cognac. And I love liquor. I don't love drinking it. I just love the bottles. I love the aesthetic of it. I love the details in between each bottle, And it was fun to go wander the aisles of the liquor store, the big, like, Total Wine, whatever it's called. And, I used to drink, and I'm sober because I had a problem. But I don't have a problem buying it. And right now I have 3 bottles in my house. I also got some Dos Equis and some Guinness, for beer options that'll pair well with the cigars that I bought. And I was worried about having it in the house, and it's fine. I might even give it away after, like send them home with the bottles and the drink, just to limit my risk. It's just, it's a money investment. You're spending hundreds of dollars to throw a party, essentially. But that's like, you're investing money, but it wouldn't be just, hundreds of dollars per one party. It would be the setup cost so that you can have these drinks over months, right? So it's a bit of a misunderstood number, but it's still a number. Like, you have to factor it in. But it was fun. It was fun going shopping in the humidor, picking out what cigars, blends that I wanted to do, a variety, of mild, medium, maybe a little bit bold, different barrel sizes, lengths, and things like that. Connecticut versus Maduro wrapping, all these different things that I don't know what they like, but it's just fun. And I like to, try different brands. So if you have a cigar that you smoke or you enjoy or you recommend, drop it in the comments and I'll check it out. I've got a good sampling in my own humidor of things I want to try and share. So I'm excited about it. I'm nervous about it, but I also want a monthly tradition that I can get together with some guys and get to know them better, because I do need physical proximity to real people in my life. And I know that because the 21-day retreat with TAV, it's not a retreat, it's an intense process, but a healing one. And I'll share more stories from that as I go. But I just wanted to give you an update here. But being in proximity with people, doing the healing work, mentoring people, again, it fills my soul up so much. And I can't deny that fact. So I have to build these things into my life in some capacity. So I am here. I have no real big plans of making a go of YouTube. I just know I want to share here and there and raise some awareness about different things and just do some fun stuff, see where it goes, and share a little bit more of what's going on with me, with you. And since I've been gone, I've gotten many messages of people missing some of my content, as far as not the self-help stuff, but just when you talk about yourself, you talk about your experience, and it's a positive thing about things you've overcome, way you deal with stress, whatever. It gives people another perspective, and they use that and try things, and it inspires them in some positive way. And, Not that I really get those comments much, but whenever I'm gone here and there, I'll get messages of affirmation that way, and they miss it. And I appreciate that, and I want to be here for that, and I want to give what I have to you. If it helps, it helps. If it doesn't, it doesn't. If it entertains, it entertains. Like, it's all good. Let's keep a conversation going, and we'll see where this thing takes us. But it's been a year. I'll tell you. I hope you guys are doing well, and please say hi. It'd be good to talk to you again in the comments, and yeah, more to come, I guess. That's it for now. Until next time, journey well, my friends.